When my son was 11, he was on a camping trip with a group of Cub Scouts, and he went with his dad for the trip. And he all of a sudden had this pain, abdominal pain, and was doubled over. And my son is the kind of kid who, if something's wrong, he'll say, but he's otherwise, you would never know anything was wrong. He's kind of a gentle giant type that doesn't really complain a lot. So when he does say anything's the matter, you know something is very wrong. So they were 2 or 3 hours away, drove back so that we could at least manage it from home. And we went to Emerge at our local hospital. Long wait in emergency. It was one of those sort of crazy blitz times. I remember there was a small room with maybe 10 or 12 beds with just sheets in between to divide the people. A lot of nurses come and go, saw the doctor only sporadically. And we waited and waited. From where he was saying he was hurting, I wondered if it was his appendix, but you know, you need somebody with qualifications and, you know, diagnostics to be able to tell you that that's what's really going on. Could have been something he ate. I mean, you don't know, but it just wasn't going away, which was another clue that there was something more nefarious going on.
So you were waiting a long time just to even be seen?
We were waiting a long time to be seen. You go through 3 stations just to check in and tell the same story 3 times over just before they finally take you in somewhere and give you a bed to begin with. And then waiting a long time in that room full of 10 or 12 other people, and through multiple shifts of nurses, and every time somebody would come in and poke him and prod him and ask him the same set of questions again, and they'd given him some painkiller. So at a certain point, he stopped saying that it was hurting, but then it still would hurt, but we weren't sure. And the risk with appendicitis is if the appendix bursts, it's a much more invasive operation than just to go in and get it before it bursts. Is a smaller incision and less dangerous for the person. So that was the risk. How do we judge? How do we decide what the right thing to do is? But there just seemed to be an endless wait. They sent him for an abdominal x-ray, which of course showed nothing. And by the time hours and hours had gone by and we were talking with the doctor, he said that we didn't have the opportunity to have a CAT scan done because the radiologist had gone home for the night, so we'd have to wait till morning for that. He was recommending that his best guess was that it was appendicitis and that we should sign for Jamie to have some surgery to get that looked at, that, you know, right then and there. We were asking him, how do we know if we're doing the right thing? How do we know if this is going to, you know, be something that resolves on its own, or is something that's going to require surgery for sure, or if we wait too long and it bursts? How do you pick between all of those alternatives? I won't forget what his words were. He said, "You should do it because I'm telling you so." He answered in what I consider to be kind of a bully tone. "You do what I say because I'm the doctor." And I found that hard to take, but we thought we were doing the best thing for Jamie. So Jamie had the surgery, and then when the doctor came out, he said it looked clean. And I remember being just floored and very upset by that, because I thought, oh my gosh, we just authorized surgery for our kid. He didn't need it. I don't know, there wasn't really any tone with it at all. It was just matter of fact. I mean, it was just, yeah, well, it looked clean. And then he was just sort of all executional details about, okay, well, you know, he's finishing up in recovery and then they'll send him upstairs, so you guys go on upstairs. And that was it. Away he went. Done. The nurse met me upstairs. By then I was a mess. I was falling apart because I thought, gee, I just authorized this and he didn't need it. And she thought I was upset because I was worried that my son wasn't going to be okay. And she was like, it's okay, you know, he's going to be fine. And I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. He is going to be fine. he didn't need this. And now he's going to have to heal up from this surgery, and it's not going to be very pleasant. I mean, he's going to hurt for a couple of days or a little bit more until this heals up. And if I'd known, I wouldn't have signed. It was about 10 days or 2 weeks. There was a follow-up appointment with the doctor after.
And what happened at that appointment?
He had shared with us what I guess you'd call them the toxicology results from the sample or whatever they had sent away, and it did show the beginnings of appendicitis after all. The roller coaster was huge for me because I felt as a mom at first that I had betrayed my kid and had given up that, like the primary trust. But then I was relieved that the truth bore out that this was indeed the right thing to do. But the emotional roller coaster in between was just, kind of mind-blowing. There was a huge sense of being lost in the shuffle because there probably wasn't enough communication for us to feel that, if they were going to just have us on a watchful waiting time period to see what he was going to do, I wish they'd shared that with us. All we did was worry that we hadn't heard or seen anybody for another hour or two, and then another nurse would come on shift and wouldn't know either, and it just seemed like an endless stretch of time of we're not going to find out, we're not going to know. And yet the doctor was busy with other people, and fair enough, it was a busy day. So it was just hard to sort of grab information at the time to understand what was happening, how are we supposed to decide properly or with the right information, and what's the plan. They were fighting over his gurney while they were wheeling him to the OR because it was just that busy. So it was hard to feel that you were getting, care that mattered. It was just very sort of factory feeling at the time too. The way we asked him the question was, well, how are we supposed to make that decision? How are we supposed to know? Which in my mind is seeking, additional information about maybe risk factors or percentages, or, hey, how about just the truth that you don't know and we're all going to have to flip a coin? Even that would have been an honest answer. But the response was, you don't. I tell you what to do. My initial in the moment reaction was, wow, that's a heck of an attitude, but what are we going to do? But he actually took off. He didn't wait to see how we reacted to that. He took off and just left us with the clipboard to decide. I didn't really approach the topic with him at all. I just said, oh, okay. Because I also had to understand and respect that my son was with me. And I had not shared with him all of this because I didn't want him to know originally that, his parents had authorized some surgery that he didn't need, because I didn't want him to, have nightmares or think that this is how the world usually works. So I hadn't shared any of that with him, so then neither was I going to share the flip-flop with him either. I just kept it to myself and handled the appointment as this, regular mom with kid, okay, great, thanks, and got out of there. I think if we had had more communication from people who were caring for our son at the time and let us in on the game plan, like if it was going to be a watchful waiting strategy, then tell me, tell us that we're going to be just waiting and watching for a few hours to see if the pain progresses, rather than just us worried that things could be happening right while we're lying here and it's a busy ER and what if he doesn't have surgery fast enough. The communication would have helped sort of get us on board with what the plan was and understand that, but also have us feel that they knew what they were doing too and not just losing us in the shuffle. Like it would have solved both of those things. Ask for an explanation about what the game plan is. What is going to happen to the person who is in the hospital and when. And what's the plan and what are the risks? Like, try and get as much information as you can from whoever's looking after somebody. At least so you understand and are alongside, whatever's going to be recommended, at least you can see it coming. And if there isn't a right answer or perfect information, at least if they can just tell you that.
So you feel it's better to know transparently that they're still sorting themselves out, instead of you being kept in the dark.
Yeah, absolutely. Or that, science or medicine doesn't have the answer, but the best thing we think is this, and here's the best alternative for this, and here are the risks. just be honest.